All right. Good morning, everybody. I think it's about that time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let's start on our back. So we'll start a little easier today. Okay, so let's just bring those feet a little bit wider. Bring those, so they can almost be about mat distance apart. Those knees will just come together to touch. So we do want those knees to touch. That way we can broaden open up through our hips, and they can use each other to support each other so you're not having to use any of those leg muscles. Now, just rest one hand on the stomach, one hand on the chest. Just close down those eyes. Start to breathe in and out through the nose. And taking that really big breath in. Exhale, just open the mouth side out. Just let yourself completely relax. Let's come to this space, letting everything else go. Just noticing that natural rhythm of the breath, that rise and fall of the belly of the chest. Now let's bring those feet about hip distance apart so those legs are nice and parallel to each other. Bring those arms out to that T, and then we'll just drop the knees over to that right side. The left shoulder stays down, that core stays nice and tight. Bring it back to center, and then we'll go over to that left side. Good, center, over to the right. You can start to move on your own with this. Going as fast, well, I wouldn't go too fast, but maybe holding one side. Just feel that nice stretch, loosening up that back, the core. Let's go one more time each way. Yeah, then we'll bring those knees up. Let's cross that right ankle over the left, and then you can pull those knees over to that right side. Yeah, then bring it back to center. Go to the other side, cross that left ankle over that right thigh, and then reach that right arm out, right shoulder stays down as we find that twist. And then let's bring it back to center. Uncross it, hugging those knees in, round that spine, bring that forehead to those knees. And then we're going to extend it out nice and long. So your choice, if we rest those legs down, reach those arms overhead, the arms can rest down, okay? Then exhale it back in. Now you can inhale or keep those legs and arms lifted into that hollow position, and exhale, curl it in. Reach it out, curl it in. We got two more. Your choice if the legs stay lifted or lower down. Curl, and then inhale, reach it out, and squeeze, hold, then hug it in. Just give it a little rock from side to side. Okay, now rock forward and back. Let's come up to our seat. So crossing those legs, reaching those arms up nice and tall. Let's side stretch it over to that right side. Just gaze up underneath that arm. Big, big reach through those fingers. Inhale, bring it back up. Let's go to the other side, reaching that arm up and over. Good, bring it back up. Let's twist it over to that right side. So sit up nice and tall on that inhale. Exhale a little deeper into that twist. Inhale, bring it back up. And exhale it to that other side. Lengthen and twist. Good, bring it back to center. Let's make our way onto those hands and knees. So spread out those fingers, pressing into those palms. Let's move through those cat-cows. So on that inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest, lift the tailbone. Exhale, round. Really draw that belly in. Press the shoulder blades away. Really rounded through that spine. Good, then inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest, and pull those shoulders down and back as we lengthen up through the top of the head. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, round. And inhale, lift. Last one. Exhale, round. Then bring it back to neutral. Okay. Just sliding those hands forward. So we want to keep those hips stacked right over those knees and reaching those fingers out long. Pull those arms towards each other as we soften that head down towards the mat. Now, if the shoulders are really, really tight, that head may not touch. That's okay. Now, if you want to go even deeper into the stretch, you can lower that chin down towards the mat. It's not quite happening for me this morning, but if that's where you're at, great, go for it. One of the big things is though, is make sure we're really gripping those fingertips, pulling those forearms towards each other. So really stabilizing through those shoulders as we find that stretch. So we stabilize first so we're not overstretching, keeping those joints in that nice safe position. And now let's slide those hands back. We're gonna multitask a little bit here. So we want those toes tucked under, those ankle bones, your Achilles are pointing straight up. So think your Achilles are parallel to each other, not bowing out to the sides at all. Okay, now from here, sit back on those toes. Yeah, it's gonna be a big stretch. We won't be here super long. Okay, now, if it's too much, just kind of sit up off of it a little bit. Now we're gonna interlace those fingers behind the back, open up through that chest. Belly is tight. One more breath. Maybe like 2 breaths. Sorry. We have to go ahead and release those arms out. Plant those hands and then just gently tap the tops of those feet. Go and step it back to our plank. And then hips up to the sky, downward facing dog. Take a moment, pedal those feet out. Sway those hips. And then we'll come onto the toes. Bend those knees, step those feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale, finding that half lift. Exhale, slide those hands down as we fold. And now bend into those knees, flatten out that back, and rise up to standing, reach it up tall. Let's find that side bend over to that right side. Inhale it up. Exhale over to that left side. Inhale, reach it up. Now again, draw those elbows down, interlace those fingers behind the back, open up through that chest. And release those arms up tall. Exhale, fold. Flat back on that inhale. And exhale, let's plant those hands, step those feet back to our plank. Go ahead and lower it down nice and slow. If you need to lower those knees down, you can. Point the toes, roll the shoulders down and back, lift up into just that baby cobra. Exhale, soften it down. We've got 2 more of those. So roll the shoulders down and back, lift up that chest. And down. One more time. Lift. And down. Curl those toes. Reverse the plank, hips up to the sky. Downward facing dog. One more breath. And now come onto the toes. Bend those knees, step those feet, top of the mat. Inhale that half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale, side stretch to the right. Inhale it back up to the left. Inhale it back up. Draw those arms down. Open up that chest. And exhale with those fingers interlaced. We're going to fold it forward, keeping that back nice and flat. So maybe this is all the farther you go, or maybe you find that you can fold a little bit more. Just like pulling the shoulders away from those ears. Now go ahead and release those hands down. Plant it. Plant the hands, step the feet back, lower down. One time, lifting up, cobra. Or if you're ready, you can press it up into that upward facing dog. And then exhaling those hips up and back into our down dog. And let's move through that one more time. Coming onto the toes. Step or hop those feet, top of the mat. Inhale the half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, we'll rise. Exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale it back up and to the left. Inhale, reach it up. Interlace those fingers, open up that chest. Exhale, fold. Lengthen on that inhale. And exhale, plant those hands. Step it back to our plank. Lower down. Inhale, lift. And exhaling those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. And now let's come onto the toes. Bend those knees, step those feet up, top of the mat. Big toes come together to touch. Inhale, let's rise up. And then sink those hips down into our chair. So warming up those legs a little bit. You can sit as high or as low as you are feeling this morning. Keeping that core tight. If this is keeping the arms up is a little bit too much on the shoulders, you can always bring the hands to heart center. Maybe you find you can sink those hips back a little bit more. Okay, one more breath. And then straighten those legs as we fold. And just let the head and the arms hang nice and heavy. Okay, now let's plant those hands. Go ahead and step it back to a plank. Let's move through that vinyasa. And exhaling those hips up and back, downward facing dog. We're gonna step our right foot through to our right thumb, planting that left hand, twisting, right arm reaches up. Then lower that hand down. We're gonna travel to that long edge of the mat, side lunge. And so back here, I'll face you guys. Back is nice and flat. We wanna keep, it'll be your left heel down. Chest is up. Let's bring it back to center. Let's go over to that other side. And so again, we want to keep that heel down, back flat. Then now bring it back to center. Turn those toes in, heels out flat back on the inhale, and exhale, fold. Good, and re-lengthen. Walk those hands back to the front. Go ahead and step it back to a plank. And again, moving through our vinyasa. Exhaling those hips to the sky, down dog when you're ready. Pause it for a couple of breaths. Okay, now step that left foot to that left thumb. Plant that right hand down. As we twist, left arm is gonna reach up. And then we'll lower that hand down. Let's walk it over to your right side, lunging into that right knee. And bring it back to center. Let's go to the other side, lunging into that left side. Okay, bring it back to center, toes in, heels out, flatten out that back, and exhale, fold. And now we lengthen out, walk those hands back to the front, step it back to our plank. Lower down. Inhale, lift, and exhale those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Now let's go ahead and step that right foot outside that right hand. Back knee lowers down. We're gonna hold this for a little longer than a moment. Good, so chest is pulling forward, core stays tight. And then when you're ready, just go ahead and lower down onto those forearms. If it's too early, so as it is for me, I'm not getting that right elbow down. So if you just want to stay on one elbow, or maybe even just on those hands as you hold this, and keeping that core tight, then pressing those hips forward and down, not quite twisting. Like we're pressing into that right knee. And maybe you find that it releases and you can get both elbows down. Just try not to really round through that upper back to get the elbows down. Try and keep that nice flat back. So you might have to just stay on your hands. That's totally fine. And now come back to the hands. Straighten that front leg, pull those toes back. So we're lifting the chest, lifting the tailbone. Now rebend into that knee. We're going to heel to that foot across. So we're going to come into our pigeon. So my left foot is coming all the way across the mat. My right knee is going to stay at the right side of the mat. So my foot is angling back a little bit because it just feels better on my hip and on my knee. So it's kind of up to you. If you want to bring that shin parallel to the front, you can. If it is parallel, flex the foot. If the foot or the shin is angling back towards the hip, just go ahead and point those toes and then just gently put some pressure into that top of the foot. Okay, now from there, we're going to lower down onto those forearms. Just go ahead and rest that head onto those hands. And keeping a little bit of stability through those hips. So press down into that right shin, pull back, left knee presses down and pulls forward. So maybe hold this here. So really, really squeeze, make it maybe a little bit more aggressive than we normally do. And then now we can kind of soften. See if we can slide that left leg back a little bit more. And then try it again. Press the shin down, pull back, left knee pulls forward. Hold, hold, hold. And then exhale. Maybe that knee comes back a little bit more. Yeah, now just hold and breathe here. Now slowly come back to those hands. And step it back. Downward facing dog. Then we're going to step that left foot outside that left hand. Back knee lowers down. Now if you're ready, maybe you can lower those elbows down. And maybe you stay on your hands for just a few more breaths. Let that hip open up a little bit more. Good. Maybe you lower down onto those forearms. A few more breaths. And then come back to those hands. Straighten that front leg. Pull those toes back. And now rebend. Start to heel toe that foot across the mat. So again, right toes are on that, or the left toes are on that right side of the mat. The knee comes towards the left side of the mat. Again, adjusting that shin, that foot as needed. And then we'll lower down onto those forearms and start to rest that head down. Now, same thing we did on the other side, on the right side. So we're going to press that left shin down into the mat, pull it back. Right knee's going to pull forward. So really, really squeeze. One more breath, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then as we relax it, slide that right leg back a little bit more. Now again, press left shin down and back, right knee down and forward. Squeeze it there nice and tight. And release it. See if we can send that right leg back a little bit more. And I'll just hold. Good, now come back to those hands. Go ahead and send it back to that downward facing dog. And so pressing those hips up, pressing those heels down. And then we'll lower those knees down. Go and cross those legs, sitting up nice and tall. Let's just finish it off with a little side stretch and a twist. So lowering that right arm down, left arm reaches up and over. Inhale, bring it back up to the other side, reaching that right arm up and over. Inhale, we'll bring it back up. Let's twist it to the right. Sit tall on that inhale. Exhale, twist. Bring it back up and twist it to the other side. Good, bring it back to center. Let's just go ahead and rest those hands on the knees. Roll those shoulders down and back, closing down those eyes. And just focusing on that breath. Good, and if the mind starts to wander, just bring it right back to that breath. And then we'll blink those eyes open. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for Recharge at noon. All right, thanks guys.